everything about it, including its beginnings, effects, defining events, and more. Join me as I share with you 10 facts about the White House that you probably didn't know. Number 10. Who constructed it? Few landmarks in the United States have the power and sway that the White House has. It stands as a symbol of freedom, and within its walls, freedom is often upheld and defended. Regardless of who is elected, the President of the United States enters that revered structure. Even though it is a highly unique structure, the way it was built was not the best thing that had happened in American history. Despite having ties to the presidents, it wasn't in existence when George Washington assumed the office of president. The building began in 1792 and was completed in 1800 by slave owners. To be clear, although they contracted slaves to do the work, the U.S. government did not actually own any slaves. Originally, it was intended to be built by Europeans, just like they did with the Statue of Liberty. However, they did not receive the desired response, so a work order was issued, and both laborers and genuine slaves proceeded to build the first White House, as well as liberated slaves. The first White House, indeed. The original structure was created and contributed to by architect James Hoban, an Irish immigrant chosen by President George Washington. The White House was destroyed by the English during the War of 1812, though. Hoban arrived to construct the second one as a result, and it is that one that is still standing on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. Number 9. Location and renovation. You might be surprised to learn that the site of a structure is just as crucial, if not more important, than the building itself when it comes to creating a significant monument, particularly one as significant as the White House. You can understand what we mean by looking at the history of the Lincoln Memorial. However, the White House is situated at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and was built on land that was specially chosen by George Washington. It is even more amazing, if you will, that the first president contributed to making sure the future president had a place to call home. While the White House is now very immediately recognized as a sound building, that wasn't always the case. Additionally, it wasn't always how it appeared. It was considerably smaller when it was initially constructed, and then, as was stated, again. The structure was expanded and rebuilt over time by a number of presidents, notably Teddy Roosevelt, who installed electric lighting inside the structure. The structure was refurbished inside and out to comply with more contemporary building rules after Harry Truman's administration said it was structurally unstable. Fast forward to the present day, and the building is still occasionally renovated, with some security elements that we'll discuss later added. The White House thus resembles America in that it develops, evolves, and changes according to the people occupying it at any given time. Number 8. Who arrived first? You're probably wondering who was the first president to actually live in the White House after hearing some of the information we've provided. George Washington is not the answer to that. Although he was the president who started the process and chose the building's location, he was never able to move inside the building. It was completed shortly after his presidency, for 2 terms if you recall. Therefore, John Adams, the second president, was the first president to reside there. But the president has resided in the White House in many guises ever since. Additionally, 3 First Ladies Letitia Tyler, Caroline Harrison, and Ellen Wilson, as well as 2 Presidents William Henry Harrison in 1841 and Zachary Taylor in 1850 have passed away in the White House. It somewhat complicates matters, doesn't it? Because it would have been reasonable to assume that everyone would have been in the White House, but that was not the case. Number 7. The layout. The White House is a highly remarkable building with great scale and depth, both up close and from a distance. And as a result, it can be challenging to determine how much is actually within. Yes, you can view things like the Oval Office and places that the president can only access when watching shows like The West Wing or Madam Secretary. However, are you aware of the size of the White House and everything that is inside? Since the statistics are rather startling. As recorded in history, the sixth-floor, 55,000 square foot White House has 132 rooms, 16 of which are family guest rooms, and 35 baths. A full supper for up to 140 guests or hors d'oeuvres for more than 1,000 visitors can be served in the White House's kitchen, which contains 28 fireplaces, 8 staircases, 3 elevators, 412 entrances, and 147 windows. The White House frequently holds events for dignitaries, including galas and receptions, so the following sentence makes sense. A pool built by 2 different presidents was among the additions that were added to the outside. The president also has access to a tennis court, a 1-lane bowling alley, a small movie theater, a game room, a jogging track, and a putting green on site. There are many tales of hidden rooms and tunnels, but officially there is just one that is utilized to transport the staff leaders to safety. Like in 9/11, when it was reported that Dick Cheney used a covert tunnel to reach a safe place. Still, considering the structure, it's a considerable amount of space. Even still, many people still have some queries that they want answered. Number 6, the West Wing. Given the significance of the White House, it makes sense that many things would need to be accomplished there. Teddy Roosevelt moved his office to the now famous West Wing in 1902 as a result. Many of the president's and his staff's tasks are completed here. The U.S. President's offices have been housed in the 2-story West Wing, which also houses the Situation Room, Cabinet Room, Roosevelt Room, and Press Briefing Room in addition to the Oval Office. Even television programs like The West Wing appropriately portray some of these regions. For instance, the president meets with the chiefs of several divisions and departments in the basement of the building, known as the Situation Room, to discuss important global events that require the president's attention away from prying eyes. So, yeah, a certain amount of what you see on television is actually accurate. Number 5, no freebies. You may not be aware of this, but the president has a personal chef who prepares his meals. You may believe that because he is the leader of the free world, he is entitled to free meals as well as other items, such as toiletries, because he is unable to procure them on his own. The president receives a bill every month for everything they purchased, and it is subtracted from their yearly income. Just so you know, that works out to $300,000 a year, so they're still making money. Number 4, a red phone does not exist. The president is depicted as having a red phone to connect with certain persons in movies and television shows. Mostly Russia, it's an awesome picture. But it didn't exist. Instead, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, President John F. Kennedy went and set up a teletype hotline with Russian Premier Khrushchev. Arrival at work took 10 months, and there was never a phone. Regular phones were eventually used to communicate with any foreign leader. Number 3, moving in and moving out. Ever pondered what transpires once a new president is chosen and is forced to occupy the White House? The reply is, a great deal. The president must go and choose the goods, furniture, and other objects to adorn both the executive mansion and the Oval Office, in addition to staffing the building with everyone they believe they need, such as secretaries, cabinet members, and so on. The president and their companion are allegedly able to travel to a real-life warehouse and choose whatever they want because this technique is so unique. There are even licensed interior designers who can paint a picture of what they, and perhaps their kids, can have in their rooms. When the current president departs the White House for the last time on Inauguration Day, a team of workers rushes in to remove everything from the Oval Office and other rooms before replacing it with the items the president-elect requested. They only have a few hours to adapt the White House to the new tenants, but they act quickly. Number 2, what is in a name? Even if you get some of the facts wrong, you instantly imagine the White House when you hear the phrase. As the residence of the president, the White House is well known throughout the U.S. and even outside of it. The question is, was it always known as the White House? Not at all, no. Instead, when it was created, a whitewash with a lime foundation was applied over the top of the exterior coat of paint. It was planned to go and provide some protection from the icy weather. Believe it or not, the media was the ones who first used the term White House, and it wasn't until Teddy Roosevelt arrived on the scene that he gave the location the official name, the White House. The President's House, the Executive Mansion, the Presidential Palace, and the Presidential Mansion were some of its previous names. While all of those titles are okay, the White House stands out for some reason. Number 1, it is really secure. The President, his family, and most of his staff are based at and work out of the White House. You would therefore be justified in assuming that the location is a fortress that few could ever expect to enter. But how extensive is such security? Any exterior images or photographs of the White House you've seen depict a gate nearby. That gate is strong enough to withstand the impact of a car crashing against it. If you manage to get past that, there are guards and Secret Service agents on the premises. You wouldn't get to his table if you wanted to take a more subtle approach, like poisoning his meal. Because to ensure that nothing dangerous enters the building, all food carried into the White House is scanned and tested for poison elsewhere. Do you want to try this by air? Very bad. Flying over the White House is really against the law since it has a personal radar system that can detect anything that comes too close to it, and because the airspace above it is constrained. Even if you manage to enter the White House, the president actually has a hidden location he may retreat to in the event of a breach that you will never reach, as was previously mentioned. And long before the attacker actually located them, the president would get the alert to get there. Recall that the space is big. In summary, the location is well protected, and even if someone did discover a loophole, they would probably fail and the hole would then be sealed. Thank you for viewing. How did you feel about this examination of the White House and the different statistics and facts you may not have known about it? Please let us know in the comments section below, and we'll see you on the channel again soon.